From Mexico to Louisiana, the Red River down to the Laguna Madre, Texas is one big playground. Join professional bass fisherman and three-time FLW Angler of the Year, Clark Wendlandt, as he takes you on some of the best outdoor adventures the Lone Star State has to offer. This is Fishing and Hunting Texas.
Hey, we're about to put our boat in the water. Fayette County Lake, a lake with a ton of bass in it. We're going structure fishing. We're gonna get out there, we're gonna graph, we're gonna see if we can find some schools of fish. Got a lot of different baits tied on. I think it ought to be a great day. Thanks for joining us. This is Fishing and Hunting Texas. We just got out here, started idling, got just a little bit of breeze blowing. Looks like a perfect day to fish. First thing I'm gonna show you is how much bait that I'm seeing kind of in that 7 to 15 feet range. When we first started out, I could see it all the way down to 15 feet. The bait doesn't seem to be real deep. I would think that would give you a clue that those fish are gonna be just a little bit shallower. So, I mean, when I say shallower, I could easily see them being 25 feet this time of year. So I'm thinking, just based on what I've seen so far, right now, all we're gonna do is we're gonna get out here and we're just gonna graph. We're just gonna go back and forth until we can find what we think's a school of fish, and then we'll get up and start fishing for them. We got a bunch of different baits to throw at them, but this right here is a good sign. You know, the first school of fish we found, I couldn't catch any fish out of. They were suspended. I couldn't get any bites on that spot. If I'd have stayed there long enough, maybe I would. The second school of fish I found, I got them to biting. I lost a good fish right off the bat, and it took me probably 15 or 20 minutes to figure out the exact cast I wanted to make. Once I figured that out, I caught that big fish on it. I lost another big one. I caught another one that was close to 5 pounds. I mean, it was definitely going on. At least we're getting some bites. Now I have dropped a waypoint on this spot where I'm sitting, and I'll also, there's one, that's a big one. Came off. There's another one, hit it. I got him still. This one feels bigger, it might be two. He's coming up, he's big. This one I may have in a tail, or maybe a tilapia. Or... No, big old bass. Look at that sucker. Woo, look at that guy. That's awesome. I mean, I got the school finally fired up. Look at that. That's a good one. Ah, there we go. Strike King 6XD, Chartreuse Sexy Shad. Size of this guy. That's a good one. That's awesome. Let's see if we can get back on it.
That's not a bad start for the day. Stay with us. Coming up, Clark dials it in on Fayette County Reservoir, right here on Fishing and Hunting Texas.
As people who love the outdoors, we know what we stand for. We stand for fish, wildlife, and conserving the places they call home. We stand for the traditions we inherited and that we must pass on. We stand for great gear, fair prices, expert service, and memorable experiences. At Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's, we stand together for you.
You sons of fishes. Ain't enough fish on this lake for 2 clubs.
Really? Well, we see plenty of fish live with Panoptix.
Yep. Dang, we should get Panoptix. Or maybe we'll just take yours.
What's going on here? You boys have license?
Yes, sir.
Nope. There he is.
Oh, I got him.
For 50 years, Ranger has led the way in innovative, high-performance designs, and we're raising the bar again with a bold new flagship line, the Ranger Z Comanche L Series. These rigs are custom crafted with a passion for perfection and loaded with more features and advantages to deliver domination at every level. The next generation Ranger L Series. Celebrate a legacy 50 years in the making.
Fishing and Hunting Texas is brought to you by Bass Pro Shops. Your adventure starts here. Ranger Boats, still building legends one at a time. And by Garmin, fight your fish, not your fish finder. Fayette County Reservoir, a power plant lake about halfway between Houston and San Antonio. It's got a good reputation for having plenty of bass, and it's a great place to hone your skills. Today, Clark is targeting deep structure fish with his Garmin electronics and a Strike King 6XD crankbait.
When I thought about this show and I was thinking about offshore fishing, I was thinking about catching fish on a variety of different baits. I really thought if we can get them going on a crankbait, that would be great, but then, you know, we'll probably catch some on a sexy spoon, we'll probably catch some on a football jig, we'll maybe catch some on a worm, Carolina rigging, maybe jerking a worm up off the bottom. There's all kinds of different baits that you can actually access those schools with. This particular day though, a crankbait's all they would really bite. This ought to be pretty interesting. May be great, may not be good at all. Let's see. All the fish that you're seeing on the screen right now is the group of fish that we're fishing for, and there's a bunch of them. I mean a pile of them. There's one. He was way back there. I made a long cast. There he comes up again. He was a little bit shallower on the spot. Got an old deformed mouth. Been caught a time or two. Now I feel like I'm trying to go as fast as I can go right now because I know they're biting. But I gotta show you guys those fish too. I switched to an 8XD, and this is a big one right here. He about jerked the rod clean out of my hand. Look at that there. He is not hooked good. Got another hook in him. Look at that. I switched to an 8XD and I went out just a little bit deeper, and that fish hit it when it came off the break. That's a big one there. Look at that. Look at that, his fin on top's kind of messed up. It's not like all standing up, but that's close to a 5-pounder right there, if not. That's awesome. You know, it's just so interesting to me because these fish, you get on a school like this, it's on a big kind of broad point. I'm going, you know, back and forth, and I'm kind of learning it as I go. One great thing is it's not a windy day. If it's a windy day, the fish may bite a little bit better, but you can't kind of figure out the area quite as good. And you know, I've probably been fishing this spot for about an hour. I probably caught 4 or 5 or 6, you know, right off the bat, and then I hit that, you know, I caught that big one, close to 6, and another nice one, and then I just caught that one. And so I'm just kind of learning it more as I go. They don't seem to want something slow. Every time I pick up a worm, Carolina rig, jig, I don't get a bite. Even a spoon, I didn't get a bite. Crankbaits moving really fast, that's what they're wanting. You know, one of the big keys of our day at Fayette County was speed of retrieve. I mean, I was cranking that crankbait really, really fast. And that's what was generating the bites. The faster I reeled it, the more bites I seemed to get. Now, I'm not saying that I was just reeling 100 miles an hour, but I'm reeling it fast for a crankbait. Now, one of the hooks was in his mouth, one of them was in his side. That's the one in his side, that's the one that caught him. When they're biting like this, you get out there quick. My whole key is get back out there quick, because if you can get that school going, as we saw just a minute ago, you can catch them one after another, after another, after another. There may not be that many fish in that school, but there's pretty many.
Now, if you've got a question for Clark, you can reach out to him on the Fishing and Hunting Texas Facebook page.
Every time we go fishing, you know we gotta tie one on.
In all honesty, when do I not tie one on?
Every time I go in the water, I love to tie one on.
Every day of the week, I like to tie one on.
You may not know this about me, but every once in a while, I've been known to tie one on.
Come on, man, join the Stray King team. All you gotta do, tie one on.
I think I always tie one on.
I love being out here on the tour. It's all about chasing the unseen in the toughest conditions. My gear is my edge, my advantage. It's what keeps me at the top of my game. Year after year.
Wiley X, with removable gaskets to block wind, dust, and peripheral light.
At Sawyer, we use the best technology to make simple products that keep you going regardless of your journey. So whether you're boating, hiking, fishing, camping, or hunting, we keep you outdoors with a full lineup of products to both protect you and make the outdoors more enjoyable. Sawyer, we keep you outdoors.
This portion of Fishing and Hunting Texas is brought to you in part by Cabela's, It's in Your Nature, by Strike King, Sawyer, we keep you outdoors, and by TH Marine. Fishing electronics have come a long way in the last few years. Technology is making fish easy to find.
Now, there's a bunch of fish right there, and you know, some of them are lifted up off the bottom, some of them seem to be right on the bottom. I would think we could catch some right there. It's kind of a real flat point. If you look at the GPS, you know, what we're going across, it's pretty flat right there. It's just a kind of a flat place on a giant point. Give it a shot. You know, when you get out there and start fishing offshore, one thing you want is everything to be able to maximize the time you get to fish, to find fish. You want to find them quickly. But when you're idling, it doesn't happen real quickly. You got to get out there and idle and move around back and forth. You've got all these tools to be able to find these fish, but it still takes getting out there and doing it. One tool that really helps me is depth shading. What depth shading does for me is I actually paint the contour lines that I want certain colors. And so when I'm actually driving, idling or going fast, I can see where those points, those places that I want to concentrate were, humps, points, ridges, whatever you want to call them, I can see where all those are. Now, it doesn't necessarily help me find a shell bed out there, something that's like hard bottom, because a lot of times that's where those fish end up being. But it does get me in the areas that I want to fish, and it gets me there quickly. So what happened on this place is a big, giant, wide point, and when we first came up on this point, this is the spot I marked. You could see a couple little places I had made circles and actually put a waypoint right here. Those fish are still sitting there. We got back in the school right there. Oh, that was a good one. He threw it. Actually, this is really interesting. I'm gonna show y'all in just a minute. I can see this school on my Panoptix. It just lifts up off the bottom. I can see little bleeps. They're everywhere right there in that one spot. Well, you know, this Panoptix, what really is helping me the most with it is I can see that school of fish when I get in range of it. And you'll see there's one right there, when I got one. I could see that, or I could see a good fish right before I hooked this one. I don't know if it was the same fish, but when I get close to that school, I can tell where they're at real easily. It's funny how lethargically those fish come in. They get up here, they go nuts. That water's hot. Panoptix right there. That Panoptix helped me a ton. I can actually see the individual fish coming up off the bottom on the Panoptix, and I'm like, you know, there's nothing out here. There's no cover out here. I fished this lake a lot. There's no brush, there's no rocks, there's no stumps. Those were individual fish. And so each time that I wanted to make a cast, I would just see where the school was. I'd make a long cast and bam, I'd catch them. What's amazing is just how fast I'm cranking that plug. Every single fish gets that front hook right in the bottom lip, every one. I don't think I've caught one yet that didn't do it. I don't really know exactly what that means, but that's just what I've noticed. You know, we caught all those fish cranking, and the reason that we caught them cranking is because they wanted something fast. Whenever I fished something slow, even when I jerked it up off the bottom, a lot of times a jerk retrieve will get a bite. It didn't work. I couldn't catch anything on a spoon. I couldn't catch anything on a worm. I caught 3 or 4 or 5 on a Carolina rig, but for the most part, they wanted speed. And when that crankbait would go flying through them, that's when you would generate a strike. And a lot of times, once you got one to bite, you could get another one to bite, and another one to bite, and another one to bite. You could get multiple bites on the exact same cast. And that's one thing about it is, that exact cast is key. You always pay attention to where you're making your cast. You pay attention to where your boat sits, and the way I do that is either by lineups, but oftentimes it's just looking at my mapping screen and I see in my track lines, I might mark a waypoint, or I might just notice where I am on the screen, near a contour line, near some other track lines. All of that just goes in and gives me information. Because once you get a bite, you want to be able to make that repetitive cast over and over and over again to continue getting bites.
Coming up, we'll wrap up the day on Fayette County Reservoir. Then we'll talk tackle with Clark Wendlandt, right here on Fishing and Hunting Texas.
When I talk about Sunline, I think of one word: confidence.
Sunline FX2 is what I use for all of my frogging and flipping.
S61 braid, which braid plays a big part in fishing line.
Shooter, I'm going to use in those close quarter deals like flipping and pitching.
One of my favorite techniques in fishing the tournament trail is to fish offshore ledges.
We have taken the questions out of the equation.
Take my word for it. It works. It works, dude.
High-Vis Shooting Systems knows that your shooting performance matters in all conditions. All high-vis shooters experience faster target acquisition with our durable light wave sights. Featuring easily interchangeable light pipes, light wave sights give your eyes the exact sight picture you crave. Shoot high-vis. See what you've been missing. This portion of Fishing and Hunting Texas is brought to you in part by Engel Coolers, a legend in reliability, owner, perfection in hooks, and by Power Pole, swift, silent, secure.
You know, a lot of times I like to talk about my day. You know, how did my day stack up? What kind of day did we have? Well, when you're offshore fishing, structure fishing, one thing you're gonna do is spend a lot of time idling, a lot of time looking for schools of fish. And then you're gonna hopefully figure out those fish fairly quick when you find a school. I felt like our day was really good. We found about 5 schools of fish. We caught fish out of 3 of them. And the last one we found, we caught them over and over and over again. And so to me, you know, I felt like I could have gone back the next day. I would have had 3 or 4 good schools. I had a good idea of what to do. I knew the depths that they were concentrating in, say 13 out to 20 feet. Those were the best depths for me. And so it would have been so much quicker if I'd have been out there another day. I felt like we had a good day. You know, on the Tennessee River, they call it ledge fishing. To me, it's structure fishing, but it's fishing out off the bank. It's fishing, you know, whether it's drop-offs, whether it's brush piles, whether it's ledges, whatever it is, something out there that's holding those fish, there it is. But what I realized is that there's little windows, those little windows of time that, you know, where you get on it where it's just right, and you catch 5 in a row, you catch 4 in a row, you catch 3 and 5 casts. And that has been, you know, early on I didn't take advantage of that very well, but later on I've really taken advantage of that. This is my 5th cast in a row right here. Stay down here. You know, one thing that really has changed the game in deep structure fishing, in my opinion, I've talked to Mark Rose, who, in my opinion, is one of the best deep water fishermen there is. And these big crankbaits, this is an 8XD, they've also got a 10XD. You can get those baits so deep that we've never been able to get a winding bait that deep. Used to be you had to get down there and you had to drag if you were going to go down to 22 feet. 25 feet, 27 feet, but now with this class of crankbaits right here, you can get it right on down there. You know, when you're set up for ledge fishing, what you want to have is a lot of rods rigged up. A couple different crankbaits, maybe a football head jig, maybe a Carolina rig, maybe a Texas rig worm. You can throw spoons, throw hair jigs. There's all kinds of different baits. You can throw swim baits. This particular day, we got most of our bites on a crankbait, and it just depends on what the fish want. We've got a few on a Carolina rig, but mostly on a crankbait. Strike King has a series of crankbaits that I always use for offshore fishing, ledge fishing, deep structure fishing. This bait right here is an 8XD, and it's really the same as a 10XD, same as a 3XD. It's just a little bit different size. This bait will get down to 20, 22 feet pretty easily. It seemed to be the perfect bait. We also caught a bunch on a shallower ridge earlier in the day on a 6XD. As far as our setup goes tackle-wise, I caught a lot of those fish on a Tournament ZX crankshaft rod. This rod right here is made for cranking big plugs. 7 feet 5 inches, I can throw it a long way. I'm fishing an arachnid reel, and as far as my line goes, that's a big key. I was using Sunline Sniper. I like Sniper when I'm cranking most of the time. This was 12-pound test. The good thing about fluorocarbon, and the reason you use it when you're cranking is it cuts through the water really well. It gets down deep really well. It doesn't hold your bait up at all. It's a dense line, and it's made to sink through the water. The setup seemed perfect. I thought we were gonna catch them on a variety of baits. We only ended up catching them on a crankbait. They wanted that really fast retrieve. The faster you reeled the bait, the more fish we caught. It was a fun day. Get up here. Now, hey, that was a good day. You know, what I really had in mind about today is I wanted to get out here and show you how many different baits you can catch them on. And we did catch some on a Carolina rig, but mainly it was a crankbait. You just have to take advantage of what the day gives you. 6 and 8XD, Strike King, those were the baits of the day. It was fun, glad you joined us.
Well, that does it for today. If you'd like to see Clark fish on your favorite lake, or maybe you've got a question, shoot him a line. Fishing and Hunting Texas is on Facebook, and we'd love to hear from you. Fishing and Hunting Texas is a Careco TV production. Hey, thanks for watching.